Jesse's good, Tammy's good. All right. Good evening, everybody. For the record, Thursday, February 10th, 2022, time for the regular meeting of the Wenatchee City Council. We always start with a pledge to our flag. Whose turn is it? I don't know whose turn is it. Keith, why don't you do it? Keith? Perfect. Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Huffaker. For the record, we have all 7 council members with us this evening. Our first item on agenda today would be the consent items, which is a motion to approve the agenda vouchers and the minutes from the previous meetings. I'd entertain a motion if we had one.
Your Honor, I motion to approve agenda vouchers and minutes from previous meetings.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Hornby, second by Councilmember Huffaker to approve this evening's consent items, including the agenda, the vouchers, and our minutes from our previous meetings. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is public comment. This would be a time that any member of the audience wishes to address the city council on something that's either on tonight's agenda or not. We'd ask you to come up, give us your name and address for the record, and we'll give you 3 minutes. Wayne, you want to come talk to us? Come on up.
I'll try to be quick. As you guys talked about,
You got to do your name and address for the record.
Wayne Loringer. My address is 1415 Jefferson Street. I live directly behind my fence fronts on the Grace Lutheran Church, which you guys were aware of that controversy last week, and we're happy that the church decided to change their mind and not do it. What I'm here for today, I just want to read what went on with us in our neighborhood just this last probably 3 years, and then let you know that I think the current code, the way it's written, needs to be changed.
Okay.
Mostly because it allows homeless people in every zone, residential foothills, residential low, residential medium, and I don't think that's a good thing to do to the city. And though the Grace Lutheran Church has decided not to do it, I'm not sure somebody else will decide that it is a good idea. And I think the time to stop that really is to change the code and not allow it. So I'll read this.
Okay.
I'll be done.
Perfect. Thanks, Wayne.
Our older neighbor moved his daughter into his home, and this was the house right next to us. The 40-year-old daughter had gone through a period of drug addiction, drug arrest, and homelessness. She had lost custody of her kids, but they lived with her father part-time and allowed her to see him. It was not long after she started bringing guys home. These guys usually arrived on bikes, walking, carrying backpacks and sleeping bags. They stayed a night or a week, it varied. Most left after vocal arguments. We witnessed one of these guys taking the 10-year-old daughter into a trailer in the backyard. We told the homeowner what we had witnessed. As time went on, more and more people would stay, more trash, more noise at night. Wenatchee Police Department would show up and arrest some of them. 5 or 6 armed officers in our cul-de-sac makes you a little nervous. Police would come to our door and make inquiries. They told us it was a flop house. They knew drugs were involved. The other neighbors and I turned in over 50 license plate numbers to the police of people coming by and buying drugs. We took videos and photos of their cars arriving and departing curbside as the daughter made contact with them. A number of times when the police showed up, the people would scatter, even going over our backyard fence. We finally put up tack strips along the top of the fence to start, since the fence was starting to break down. They would park their cars in the church parking lot and under the property over the fence because they had outstanding warrants, and police were surveilling the front of the house. Our postal lady called one morning and warned us she had witnessed guys climbing into the house through the back windows, wondering if she should call the police. Eventually, the father moved out because he couldn't control the daughter. That just escalated the problem. One of those trailers that you see at the riverfront moved into the neighborhood. The 2 men staying in it would strip down to their underwear and then go into the house to shower. They had a boy of about 13 also living in the trailer with them. People passed out in the yard. Illegal fires were set in the backyard, burning trash and plastic. Neighbors in the block got robbed, but the Ring cameras most of us have helped track the man back to the house next door. I'm almost done.
You're good. Take your time, Wayne.
At one point, as we walked home, our dog was attacked by a pit bull in the cul-de-sac. The dog lived next door part-time. We had to take our dog to the vet and filed a report with the Humane Society, who investigated. The dog had already been labeled a dangerous dog, but was loose anyway. Another dog, also a pit bull mix, was taken away later by the Humane Society because that one attacked and bit a person in the house. Over time, the daughter was forced out by her brother, multiple visits from police, code enforcement, and fire department. The owner's son, who is much more responsible than his sister, came to the father's rescue and is now living in the house and cleaning it up. The son visited us as neighbors, apologizing for his father and sister and telling us of his plans. He has disgusting videos of the condition of the house when he assumed responsibility. Those images included coffee cans in the bedrooms being used as makeshift toilets and beds being covered in sheets with vomit. It took 3 large dumpsters and a professional trash service 3 days to empty out the house. Over 100 used syringes were found in the process. No, homeless in our safe, quiet, single-family residence neighborhoods close to elementary schools is not a good idea. Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne. So we'll get it off to our staff, Glenn, and then obviously there's a process for changing zoning that happens, I think, once a year. So we'll include
he's-
you in that process and,
I talked to Glenn. Glenn doesn't want to address this year. He wants to address it next.
okay, well,
So
we'll talk and figure it
I'd
out.
like to see if we could address it sooner.
Okay,
And I'm happy to help.
yeah, Glenn and I will talk and we'll be back to you.
Great, thank
Thanks,
you.
Wayne. All right, anybody else wish to address the city council on something that's not on today's agenda or on today's agenda? Seeing no takers. David Erickson, Lincoln Park, change order number 1 for a project we haven't started yet.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Dave Erickson, Parks and Rec Director for the city. Yeah, we were going to bring change order number 1 back before we actually approved the contract last meeting for the project because we knew it was going to come. But we didn't. We held off and are doing things in order. This is actually a kind of a procedural issue that came up through the bidding process of the project. So when you approved the construction contract at the last, I think it was the last meeting, we had shown in the budget that this change order would be coming, and we knew it was there. This is really to take the dirt pump park and pave it, and it was something that's been contemplated since we bid the project, but because of the way we bid the project, we have to do it as a change order as opposed to the initial contract. With that, I'll try to answer any questions you might have.
So this is the amounts within the amount you budgeted for?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this is straight off the bid sheet, essentially. It was an alternate item on the bid.
Okay.
I had a quick question. So we have bid number A5 pump track paving and drainage for 148, and then it said net change 160. 167.28.
Probably has sales tax on it?
Sales tax.
Just confirming.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions for David? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion for the city council to approve change order number 1 with KRCI in the amount of $160,728 for Lincoln Park project. Second.
Motion by Councilmember Poyer, second by Councilmember Cuevas, to approve change order number 1 with KRCI in the amount of $160,728 for the Lincoln Park project. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. They're going to start when? April?
April 4th is you'll start to see them staged down there. We're fully in the process of going through and ordering all the materials that have to be ordered and all that good stuff.
And done in the fall?
As of right now, it looks like end of the year.
Okay.
Yeah, it depends on when things come in and all that. I think you're going to talk about a park update potentially.
Yes.
And I have all the different dates on the preliminary construction schedule that we'll go over at
Okay,
that time too.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Dave. All right. Interlocal or Columbia River Drug Task Force. Captain Chance, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Mayor. How are you?
Good.
Mayor and Council.
Thanks for your work
having me.
the stuff out in Old Station, I know we're sort of pushing them around, but it sounds like we got some of the folks off of Omi Road a little bit.
Oh, yes, you got my email from earlier.
Yeah.
Yep, I talked to Sergeant Miller, and they were able to address the Thurston underpass, got graffiti covered up today, and patrol actually handled this round out at Omi Garden.
Okay.
So, but I understand that it was pretty apparent that they're collecting again on Technology Center Way.
Okay.
So we will continue to address it and do the best we can to make it a timely response.
All right,
So-
thanks, Captain.
So I'm here to talk to you about the Columbia River Drug Task Force interlocal agreement. This is another great example of regionalization of law enforcement efforts in our valley. Just real quick, a couple of the highlights from this is we did alter the mission very slightly from the previous mission for the Columbia River Drug Task Force to add quality of life issues such as these issues of the RVs and the homeless issues that are popping up, not just in the city of Wenatchee, but in the two-county area. So this is CRDTF is represented by all 4 local law enforcement agencies, both counties, both cities have officers or deputies assigned. And our plan is to continue with the same mission in terms of drug enforcement, gang enforcement, but adding that quality of life so that we can now utilize the task force to address those issues in all of those jurisdictions that are represented. So additionally, another notable change that you guys all might be interested in knowing is that we have taken over supervision. So Sergeant Brian Miller is the sergeant and supervisor of the Columbia River Drug Task Force. We currently have 3 detectives assigned there. Our plan is to roll that back hopefully mid-year to 2 and bring Kevin Battis back over to patrol. And that'll leave Sergeant Miller, Officer Andy Sund, and Officer Albert Gonzalez as our representation in the task force.
And the sheriff has one, and the city of East Wenatchee has one?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, and the plan for the eventual move over into a space or in the new East Wenatchee Police Department that is still under construction.
Okay.
So we're hoping that'll be in the next couple of months.
Excellent. Any questions for Captain Chance?
Captain Chance, I just want to get it in my mind.
Mhm.
So when we do an interlocal agreement, is it to get us all on the same, what the laws are, to help out everybody? Is that the thinking behind it? So one city's not doing something different than the other city? Or, I'm trying to, I think I like that thinking, but I'm not sure how it started, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah, so this actually started, and I'll try to keep this brief, but it started back when we revived our Special Services Division at the Wenatchee Police Department. When we brought that back in 2000, I think it was July of 2020, we started that back up, and everybody was watching. All the law enforcement executives were anxious to see because it was highly effective to address specifically at its inception gang crime within the city of Wenatchee. And the hope was that with success of the mission for SSD, the new SSD coming back when it was revived, was that we would at some point be able to regionalize that division within the Wenatchee Police Department. Well, the timing worked out such that Chief Johnson actually was the first one to start this discussion amongst the administrations for each agency and said, hey, we're at a great point here where we could just make this a regional task force, which the regional task force has existed for years in the Valley and at various times has been contributed by all 4 local agencies over the course of its existence. In terms of the ILA in this case just talks about what the mission and purpose is. It establishes very clearly in writing that they have the authorization from councils, commissions, law enforcement executives to operate across jurisdictional lines and address issues such as the homeless issue and really even drug and crime issues that this task force is designed to address. The reality is that our criminals don't know jurisdictional boundaries, and we can best and most effectively and efficiently deploy joint law enforcement resources to address those issues without any restrictions of jurisdictional boundary, and it just makes it much easier. So it also calls out structurally what that looks like. For years and moving forward, still the Chelan County Sheriff's Office will be the parent agency. So they receive the funding that funds the task force, but up to this point, they had also provided the supervision. We volunteered, and to some degree, we're actually asked to supply the supervision and essentially take our SSD, which was Sergeant Miller, Officer Gonzalez, and Officer Sund, and commit them to the task force. And we developed this new ILA and came to that agreement.
Thank
So
you.
that's where we're at.
Yeah, and when fully staffed and going, they do great work, and I know I had a drug bust,
Yeah,
not even in
yeah,
here, but in the
Yeah.
bigger, grander area recently
Yeah.
and some other stuff, so.
absolutely.
Like you say, no, they don't understand the jurisdictional boundaries and
Yeah, and it
to
goes,
partner with them, and yeah.
yeah, just since January 1st of this year, they've had one case that took them down to Soap Lake, where they're coordinating with task forces out of Grant County, where they're communicating with DEA agents or U.S. Marshals out of Yakima office, out of Spokane office. So it's really a great thing that, you know, not just locally here for our two counties, is it a great example of regionalization of our law enforcement resources, but the connections and the relationships that these guys have, the ability to develop that allows them to work even outside those boundaries in conjunction with the appropriate jurisdictional task forces and other resources that exist in those jurisdictions. It's really a great thing.
Thanks, Captain. Any other questions for Captain Chance? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I move for City Council to approve and authorize the mayor to sign the interlocal agreement.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Harold, second by Councilmember Huffaker, to approve and authorize the mayor's signature on the interlocal agreement for the Chelan Douglas Columbia River Drug Task Force.
And I'm just going to make a shameless plug because I got permission. We just established today the 5 dates that we're going to be running patrol tactics, which is tied to legislation that went into effect a couple of years ago, actually through WAC, that requires 40 hours of de-escalation training for all law enforcement in the state of Washington. We're one of 8 hubs. We launched our first 5 classes last year, and were recognized rapidly throughout the 5 sessions that we ran as being the leader in the state for the number of people we got through our hub and for the quality of our instruction and the curriculum that we were putting those not only local officers through, but officers from all around the state. So we've established our 5/20/22 dates, and you are all welcome to come and check out that training anytime you would like. I can facilitate that, and just reach out to me if you want to hear what it looks like. You can talk to Councilman Cuevas and Councilwoman Harold. They both attended half a day last year as observers. So you're all welcome to do that here in 2022.
Great. Thank you. That's awesome.
Thank you.
All right. So we have a motion. We have a second. We should probably vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Captain. Laura Merrill, reappointment of Frida Stevens to the Tourism Promotion Area Board. It's awkward that she's here.
I know.
So I don't
I tried to
Really,
convince
my
her not to
right-
come, but
know how we're going to handle this.
Your Honor, I will recuse myself on this item.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Linda.
good afternoon, Council. Laura Merrill, Executive Services Director. So the item before you is the reappointment of Frida Stevens to the Tourism Promotion Area Board for another 3-year term. Frida's been an ongoing a member of this committee, so the committee unanimously decided to support the application for the council's consideration. And I'm available for any questions if you have them.
It's not a question, but I've dealt with Frida before, and it's a great experience and caring and love that she has for this.
All right, any questions for Laura? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll motion for City Council to approve resolution number 2022-05, reappointing Frida Stevens to the Tourism Promotion Area Board for a 3-year term ending in December 31st of 2024.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Rojan, second by Councilmember Hornby to adopt Resolution 2022-05, reappointing Frida Stevens to the Tourism Promotion Area Board for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2024. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Laura. Thank you, Frida. Thank you for serving. Mayor's report. We got a number of things on the mayor's report. Laura, you want to sort of tee them off with which one's first?
So next week we have a work session. It's the 17th, it's on Thursday. The item that we have on the agenda is all things parks, so where we are on the capital projects, upcoming bid. I think, Dave mentioned that he had that item to explain a little bit more where we are. So I think for the council's consideration, we can hold the work session next week, or we can split up the item in between Public Works and Finance Committee so that all of the council members can
So
attend.
Mayor Kuntz will be gone next week, and Councilmember Rojan will also be gone next week. I don't know what the rest of you have on your calendars. If the 6 of you want to meet, go ahead. If you don't, I'm totally fine.
I won't be here. I will be at
Doing
Apple
Apple
Blossom.
Blossom? Okay. What's your pleasure?
I'm here, I think. I will be here.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if with a large number of people not here, maybe it would be.
So there's 2 choices. You meet next Friday and you'll get 5 of the 7 of you to get an update on parks, or we can run it through Finance Committee and Public Works Committee, which leaves Keith out because he doesn't sit on either one of those. Either one of those is acceptable to us. Just let us know what your pleasure is.
I think we should run it through, so everybody can get a chance at it, is run it through, what are the two?
Finance and Public Works?
Yeah, then we get more people listening to it. So then skip the work session next week. That's my opinion.
What do you think?
I'm okay with that as long as somebody keeps me up to date with.
Okay. All right, so we'll plan on then not having a work session next week, and we will have David, you got to do it twice then, once for, I don't know where he went. Once for
That way, if you
finance.
don't like it, the first time you do it,
Yeah, then
you
you
get
have,
another crack at it.
okay.
Thank you.
I did testify this morning on the transportation bill, so for those of you guys that know, the Senate in Olympia put out a transportation package on Tuesday. It's a $16 billion, 15-year transportation package using mostly existing revenue and existing sources, including some federal pass-through. I think they passed a carbon fee last year. They're taking some of that money. There is a couple of $2 billion of new taxes and fees associated with it. There was a list of projects that were listed in the $16 billion package, and Confluence Parkway was not on that list.
It was not?
It was not, and we anticipated it wouldn't be. This package is being controlled by, it's a democratically controlled House and Senate, and the packages that are funded are mostly the really large, right? Hewitt Avenue Trestle, the new bridge over the Columbia River connecting Vancouver to Portland, some more big I-5 stuff, Highway 18, 4-laning. So mostly very large projects. I really don't think there's any projects in the 12th district. There might be some sidewalks in Soap Lake or something, but for the most part, there's nothing. So I did testify this morning with Richard Durock at the committee, basically asking them to consider funding Confluence Parkway. The gap for our side of the river is $85 million, so that was the ask today. So just sort of watch that and see how that goes. It's a short session. There's about 30 days left. So we'll continue to monitor that and see sort of where it goes. You know, from our perspective, we've been waiting for the state transportation package to happen in order to sort of fund the second part of Confluence Parkway. I didn't realize it was going to come on Tuesday. Usually these things take a bunch of time when there's talk about gas tax increases. And one of the reasons it's happened fast and going at a pretty quick rate is this package does not require bonding. And most tax packages that fund transportation at the state level do. In order to bond, they need a 2/3 majority of the Senate and the House, which means they need Republicans to support them. This package does not need that. This package just uses revenue as it comes in, doesn't require any borrowing. So this has a higher likelihood of passing along party lines. So we are working with Senator Hawkins and Representative Steele and Gaynor to try to figure out how to get our project in that. If we don't make it, we'll be back at the federal process to some degree, but it could be 8 to 10 years before there's another transportation package. So Laura and I have been going full throttle with Richard Durock and Jeff Wilkins and our other friends on transportation to try to work through this process. This really is a remarkable opportunity for us to try to jump in that. Along the same grounds, working on the environmental, Laura and the team have done a great job. We did meet with the Chelan County PUD on Monday to get them up to date on the environmental work for Confluence Parkway. We really need their signature on a letter, concurrence letter. So a lot of questions about the project. So they're going to do a little bit of public outreach. We're going to follow it very closely. We may end up encouraging you to get a little bit more involved with some of your PUD commissioners. If you see them around, please explain to them how important this is to our region. This is more than just a road project. This has got improvements to the loop trail system. It's got improvements for transit. It could help the Audubon Society with water into the Huron Natural Area. I mean, there's a lot of positive, 2 grade separations for safety. I mean, there's just a zillion things. So we will keep you posted. So you might be watching out for some public process through the PUD in terms of trying to accept public comment, but we're monitoring that also very closely. So we've been almost 100% Confluence Parkway for pretty close to 2 weeks now, preparing for the PUD and then now being involved with the state Senate and House. Was that one of the ones I was supposed to talk about?
Yes, and I
Okay.
do want to also, a big point of that is, as the mayor mentioned, we're working through the environmental assessment. And while Confluence Parkway is not funded, the environmental assessment covers a portion of the project that is funded. So in essence, it covers the entire project. And so without being able to complete this environmental assessment, it really hinders the ability to be able to move forward on even the funded projects, so the $92 million that we've received. So it's a pretty big deal in terms of even, we still have a gap, but it's still just as important. Yeah, that was one of the ones. RMSA was the other one.
Yeah, so as many of you know, our insurance that the city pays is through RMSA, which is a part of the Association of Washington Cities. We're part of an insurance pool. And we've been with AWC for as long as I can ever remember, and probably longer than that. So there is another insurance carrier called WCIA that also does the other cities that AWC's RMSA does not do. And over the last year or so, we've had some issues with AWC and some of the trainings that we've been at. It's clear that AWC does cities that are way lower in population and probably less sophistication than the city of Wenatchee. They'll do the 2,000 and 3,000 cities and the 800 cities and 4,000, but we're at almost 35,000 people, and our level of sophistication is quite a bit higher. So we did send a letter late last year to AWC. We have to give them a year notice saying that we were looking at other options. We did meet with WCIA. All the department heads and myself met with them last week. And it's our recommendation that we switch insurance carriers and go to WCIA. Initial savings will be probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $350,000 to $400,000 just in insurance premiums alone. Over time, those may work their way back up and be comparable, but we like their programs. They have a risk manager that we've been dealing with at AWC. He switched over to WCIA a year or so ago, so we're excited about the opportunity to work with him. So I haven't asked Steve Smith what the requirement is, if it is a management decision to change insurance companies or if it needs council approval, but at some point, either we will report back to you after I talk to Steve Smith about whether or not that requires council approval or not, but it's the recommendation of the mayor and staff that we change insurance carriers to WCIA. That would take effect 1/1 of 2023. So any comments you guys have? Steve, will you research that for us and just let us know if that requires some sort of city council action or not? Thank you.
So Mayor, so people in the total feel what the current cost now is,
About 1.1 million?
yeah, so they,
Yeah.
okay.
So we'll be at about 850,000 or so, we think. It's based on worker hours and insured value of your buildings and lots of other sort of things that go into that. But we got a sort of not technically a quote, but something close to a quote a couple weeks ago. So obviously we need to be insured, and we want to make sure that we're getting the right bang for the buck. We also want to make sure that your staff that works with the insurance carriers on a regular basis for car wrecks and all the things that, I mean, I don't know how many claims that Miranda handles a year, but it's a lot. And you want to make sure she's working with people that she likes and she trusts and she gets good advice from. So this looks like it could be a win-win-win from all perspectives.
Frank, Mayor, would it
Yeah.
make more sense just to do a resolution with all of us confirming, just,
We'll let Steve
Shows the
Smith
support.
decide. I don't know. I don't know if it's a management decision or not. And so we'll let Steve Smith decide. Yeah.
yeah.
And Mark, just for you, I did last December, mid-December, had a beer with Jim Bailey and told him that this was probably happening. So I didn't want to have him get caught by surprise because Jim's been on the RMSA board for as long as I can remember. So
Despite the cost, we have gotten pretty good service from
Yes.
RMSA, particularly through some of the more sticky wickets that
Yeah.
we went through.
yes. And I did ask specifically about those sticky wickets to the WCIA people, and they have the same sort of appeal procedures and those sorts of things. So, Mark, I agree with you. They've been good to us for a long time, but we also have, staff people that are working. And again, when Brad came to me and said, I got a really black and white decision for you, and he brought me this, I said, that's not black and white. That's gray, because they've been great partners for a long, long time, and they've done good things for us. So let's spend some time thinking about it. But I think over the last couple of months, I think I've come to the realization that I think staff is excited for what WCIA will bring. Even, I think, to some degree, our police chief, who with all of this new training and all of this stuff going on, thinks that WCIA's training is a step above what RMSA was doing. And so I think there's even, from that perspective, all 8 of your department heads said yes. So that's when I looked at it and said, okay, we should look. What's next?
We have masks, and did you want to talk about the community development items? All right.
Which community development items?
The ones that went to plant, so noise.
Yeah, so again, I did, as I called all of you guys the last couple of weeks, we did talk about whether or not we would attack the noise ordinance this year. And I think the consensus from talking to all 7 of you was, although not unanimous, that we would table the noise ordinance discussion for another time. And I'll work with the chief about enforcing the laws that we currently have and making sure that we're responding to calls and doing what we need to do as a police department. And then with respect to the retaining walls and those sorts of things, I know staff spent a lot of time last year, and the planning commission recommended not approving, and we sort of weren't sure what to do. And so I did, again, I talked to all of you about that. So we will not be taking on that, at least for the foreseeable future, until we can come up with a better resolution. And I know Councilmember Kulas took a good hard look at it and wasn't sure what changes we could make that would sort of fix the issue. So at this point, both of those items will be tabled for another time.
And if I might,
Yeah.
my only comment to Mayor about that, especially with the noise ordinance, there seems to be some
ambiguity with the police department on how they need to enforce it as it stands now. I think we just need to make sure that it's clear to them so that when they get a call and they show up and you stand at this fence line, if you can hear something, they've got a leg to stand. You know, something just so that it's clear, because I've been there where I've called and it feels like you can't get anything done and.
Yeah. Okay, we'll continue to work on that, and I appreciate the comments.
Yeah, so is that like a education with
Exactly,
police
just so
chief
that
and-
everybody knows
on the
before they
same-
go out on a call what the rules actually are, so they're clear about what they can do.
what they can do?
And I think our noise ordinance sort of has what's called a common man standard, which is if it's loud to you, then it's loud to the neighbors, right? But everyone might interpret that a little bit different, right? I can't hear very good,
What'd you
so
say?
it may not be very loud for me. So, but we'll work with chief and make sure that the officers are aware of the concern and making sure that they're responding appropriately when we have those sorts of calls. The other thing that's sort of going on, and we're all wearing masks today, is obviously the governor has sort of saying that he's going to be changing our mask policy. Currently, the city policy is probably a little stronger than the state policy, and that our policy is if you're in your office and you're moving around, you're wearing a mask. If you're in your own location and you've been vaccinated, then you don't have to wear a mask. And so that's been the city policy for a while. It is a little bit further along than maybe where the state is at this point. So we are sort of considering, from a management perspective, loosening the standard, which basically says if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask at work anymore. And I think that's probably where the governor is going. So we may execute that policy sometime the first part of next week. I think we're about ready. I don't think we're going against what the governor has told us we can and can't do.
No, our policy, as you mentioned, is more restrictive, and so it would be aligning it with what's currently allowed
Yeah.
while we wait to hear the date on what we think is going to be even more flexibility from that. So it's kind of a step down till we get to the next step down.
So, and I do think that is a policy issue that management will execute. So I would anticipate that, which means the next time you come to a council meeting, if you choose not to wear a mask, that would be fine if you're fully vaccinated. But if you want to wear a mask, you can. So we'll be looking at that tomorrow and probably putting something out on Monday perhaps around the city offices. Council members, anything for the good of the order?
I just got a couple things. The moderate risk waste facility is still going strong. They are considering changing their hours a bit.
Okay.
Maybe going only one Saturday a month.
Okay.
We would definitely advertise before we made any changes to that, but just trying to reduce staff time a little bit and change things around, because amazingly enough, Thursday is the busiest day.
Is it really?
Don't know why. We still continue to turn East Wenatchee, Douglas County residents away.
Yeah.
And we get quite a few of those every month. So still be nice if they would participate with us.
Is there any way you could do that on a fee for service or based on volume to charge them?
It's been discussed, and at this point, they're choosing not to.
Okay.
Yeah, they keep hoping that
Yeah.
Douglas County will join us someday in the future. Along those same lines, there is proposed legislation that's going through HSB 1799. It's a composting bill. It says that the county is required to set aside land for composting, and they're including composting food as well as yard waste. Don't know how I feel about the food. I know some other cities do that, but I think they have more room and areas to do that kind of thing, because when you're composting food, it gets kind of stinky.
Yeah.
So that's going through. And then from the chamber, the executive director committee is interviewing people again.
Okay.
Hope to have a decision soon.
Great. Thanks, Keith. Anybody else?
There is a Public Works meeting.
Probably
Committee meeting
probably
on
next
Tuesday?
Tuesday. Yep. 8:15 on the 15th. Yep.
I will be on my way back from Coeur d'Alene,
Okay.
so I won't get here in time.
Okay.
Is there someone that could take my place, or do you?
So
need-
Keith, do you want to take the Public Works meeting on the 15th? That'll get you updated on parks.
Let me look at my calendar real quick, please. Yeah, I could make that work.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, we'll have Keith then
Appreciate
on the 15th then. Okay,
Thank you.
Time again?
8:15.
8:15.
Well, a little update with the Chelan Douglas Transportation Council. There was a presentation on county trails, which I thought was interesting. They're looking at a trail from Wenatchee to Malaga. And I kept on thinking, if I heard this right, but maybe a water park feature somewhere towards Malaga. Anyways, it's obviously at the initial stage. That was an update by Mike Caputa, and he's the Director of Natural Resources. The other thing, Our Valley, Our Future, which I know it's been around since, I think, 2007. Yeah, I might get this
Been
wrong.
around for a while.
And then they have a whole new, a couple years ago, they decided it's a different 5-year plan now.
Yeah,
So I didn't,
different action items.
yeah,
every 5
different
years.
action items. I thought that was interesting. And they asked not to be a lead, but co-lead on a couple projects they had for the Chelan Douglas Transportation. And I didn't realize all the projects that the city of Wenatchee's already, leads on. So it was
So do you
educational
know who
for
the
me.
chairman of the board of Our Valley, Our Future is? Laura.
Oh, really?
She just took
Oh.
chairmanship in the last little bit.
Oh, I did not know that.
So we are already taking on, because she's the chairman, probably more than our fair share of those action items. So she went over the list. We always do anyhow, but she went over the list of them. So we are actively involved in a number of those. Top, anything from you?
Just a little bit from the Community Action Council.
Okay.
Kind of same thing, went over the action plan for
Okay.
Our Valley, Our Future, and a lot of the, I guess the Community Action Council is taking a few lead roles, a lot of supporting roles
Okay.
in those.
Have they found a physical location yet? Are they still trying to find a building and build a building and do something?
A little, they are at a building. I asked that South Wenatchee
Okay.
from the church, but yeah, they are also looking to build.
Okay,
as
build
well.
something. Okay.
Yeah, but pretty short meeting. We went over Our Valley, Our Future, and then we had a guest speaker, Alma
Alma Chacon?
Chacon, yes, at Cafe, the Community Advancement of Family Education, which was really cool, and she got to share all they do with supporting K-12 education and all the stuff they're going to do. I guess they're going to start letting students, I guess a teacher at the high school reached out to see if students can be tutors as well.
Oh, cool.
So they're going to grow their tutoring quite a bit that way.
Excellent.
But yeah, that's
Travis, anything from you?
Downtown Association's pretty busy. They're firing up their schedule. Their first Fridays are back out.
Yep.
To check that out. Support our downtown, and of course, the annual appreciation dinner is coming up on the 23rd.
Yep, that's on our calendars.
Yep.
And have we all talked to Tammy about reserving our seats for that? So make sure you do that if you haven't already. Councilmember Kulas, anything from you?
The Wenatchee Valley Museum and Cultural Center is probably two big initiatives for the board right now is the process to begin recruiting for a new museum director. And that is well underway. Also underway is the strategic planning process and the museum, I'll just call it the redo. That's a term of art.
Yep.
Redo, which will include a capital campaign once the plans are finally decided on and it's, the numbers are, for some people, might be not for the faint of heart, but for us, dealing with a $30 million budget here, it's
Yeah.
peanuts. I'm kidding. At any rate, so that will be designed and will be launched this year as well to look at improvements, and they'll be making an ask to the
Yeah,
city.
I'm meeting with Laurel. I think she's got an appointment set with me here pretty
Yeah.
quick. And so
Yeah. Yeah, so,
it's something we need to put some money into. We're going to sort of figure out the parameters and what makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, and maybe building ownership too, like the library, who knows?
Yeah.
It's, yeah. So There's some interesting concepts to reorient the museum to more towards Centennial Park, the front more towards Centennial Park, if you will, and perhaps working with the city on ways to blend the traffic there. So anyway, you mentioned Link Transit's role in the grant, so I don't have to cover that, which the board did agree to. The transit board did agree that transit could step in and
Good.
and work with that.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. So we will not meet next week. So we'll then meet again on the 24th, 5:15. All right. Thanks, everybody. We're adjourned.